Whenever you talk to AWS about cost optimization, one of their first response is about to use spot instances. Spot instances are simply the spare capacity which you can use for a lot of discount. It's as simple as that. There is no magic about it. But the thing is that there are few conditions attached to it, such as it could be taken back by AWS at any time with a very little notice, which might disrupt your applications. But as I have observed over the last few years, if you're using spot instances, it's very rare that AWS will take away the spare capacity, and most of the time your workload completes pretty nicely on a discounted price as compared to the on-demand instances. Now, having said that, as a focus of organizations across the world has moved to FinOps or cloud cost optimization, so almost every one of them is turning to AWS to ask them how to reduce their cloud bills. And as I said, the first response of AWS to these customers is to use spot instances. And so you can imagine now the consumption of spot instances is very high, and more companies are using it. So the rate which these spot instances are being terminated due to the workload is also increasing, which means that the uncertainty or reclaim of spot or spare compute capacity is high. Now, having said that, there are few instances where uh, this sort of spot capacity consumption is very high. So what AWS is doing, it is increasing the prices as usual for these spot instances across the board, and which is resulting in companies spending more, and they are not really enjoying that very cheap spot instance pricing. AWS says that they really encourage the use of the spot instances, but they want to diversify the use of spot instances across the board. If you look at this graph on your screen, which is from a blog post by Polly, it says that a rough change in the pricing for the spot instances this year. So these are all the families which will be impacted. Now, if you see that the price change is huge, for example, for M3 family, the price change for spot instances will be more than 150%, and so on for A1, T3A. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of instances which are very common. For example, T3 family is very common, and M4 is very common, and like these R instances are very common, and the increase is around 80%, which is huge. So if you are looking to go with the spot, just don't go blindly. Make sure to ask AWS what sort of pricing discount you are getting, and if they are able to maybe offer you the previous discount model, which I highly doubt, but you never know. You just need to ask AWS. Now, one of the tool which is really cool around the using the using the spot instances is auto spotting. Auto spotting, which also has a community edition, makes the automatic diversifying across the widest possible range of instances types cheapest than your initial on-demand instance type. So if you are unsure how to deal with this spot instances, how to select which one has the highest capacity available and cheaper on cheapest rate, then use auto spotting. Auto spotting also uses a custom prioritized allocation strategy that works much like the new price capacity optimized allocation strategy, but in addition, also preferring the recent instance types for better performance and lower carbon footprint as a little bonus to you and our planet. Another thing you can do with auto spotting is setting a hard limit on the savings percentage you find acceptable or configuring the aggressive bidding policy we used back in the days of spot bidding, which is still available. This sort of configuration is also doable with plain auto scaling groups, but requires the reconfiguration of every single group. While in auto spotting, it's a global configuration option that can apply automatically throughout your entire account. This also allows you to set a limit at say 50% of saving so that you never pay more than that, leaving more expensive capacity as on demand, so then you can purchase reserved instances or savings plan for it. Just make sure you pick a cutover point that makes sense depending on your reserved instances and savings plan coverage, since the saving cutover will depend heavily on the commitment and flexibility of your savings plan and reserved instances. So, I hope that you understand now what is changing in terms of spot pricing and spot instances. If you have any comment or feedback, please put it in the comment section. Thank you.